Good day, everyone. We are the Group 2. Today, we are presenting our research topic for qualitative research in grade 12, which is the perception of stress symptoms, stressors, and coping mechanisms among grade 12 students of FSU Morelos campus. So, the background of our study is that stress has become a part of our daily life, in which Cellu proposed that only in death we can truly achieve life without stress because we are already dead. And stress has become an emotion that can carry physical and mental risks according to J. Segal Smith and et al., in which the circumstances that can make stress and tension that can cause stress is known as stressors, in which stressors is would like to know how people in FSUU Morelos campus understand the stress and how stress has affected their studies and how they would cope with the stress in under alternative learning. So our theoretical framework is based on the Lazarus and Folkman's transactional model of stress, in which Lazarus and Folkman proposed that stress is a cognitive thinking that can make stress either better or worse, in which people can evaluate and react to a given situation given that they have enough resources to face the challenge or dilemma. So they theorize that psychological stress theory has two main central concepts, in which appraisal is the ability of individuals evaluation and how coping is the individual's effort in thought and action. So the theory will support this research, in which how it sees a cognitive attribute, in which the transactional model will support the research in terms of students' cognitive thinking in situation, and it relates further with this study in how it deals with the affections of the individuals, and it makes it for the baseline for the collected data to be rated.
Statement of the problem. People will suffer from stress, only from that you can no longer feel overwhelmed. They will still be under constant stress, but we are still alive and find ways to cope with stress. There have been studies dealing with stressors, signs of stress, and the way these issues are handled, and the effect it has on academia. This research aims to evaluate the students' understanding of stress and what makes them stressful and how they cope with stress. The researchers will hopefully find the answer to the following questions. First, what do students think when pertaining stress? Second, what are the things that cause the students to become stressed? And the last, what are the coping mechanisms of the students towards stress?
Now, these are review-related literature.
Kato lang to nga part. Data man sa stress niya, basada niya sa cellphone.
Celia 1956 said that the greatest threat of a human being is stress. Stress is what we call the cause or an event that causes our stress, and stress response is how we can assess our stress. The term stress, as it's currently used, was created by Hans Selye, who defined it as the non-specific response of the body to any demand for change. Stresses are the cause of stress. It can lead to physical and mental damage to a person, especially when it's prolonged. Academic stress includes mental anxiety in anticipated academic challenges or failures. Now, academic stress is defined as the body's response to academic related demands that exceed the adaptive capabilities of the students. For example, there are many PTs that are required to pass within the week. You feel stressed by that alone. You begin thinking you can do it with just 1 week. Now, here comes the problem. Very high levels of stress experienced over a long period of time can cause significant mental and physical problems. A research by Depp et al. 2015 stated that during the school years, academic stresses can manifest in every part of the youth environment: home, school, neighborhood, and friendship. Now, academic stress plays a big role for students, especially if it's related to schoolworks. Students need to study to have good grades to pass their quiz or exam. Now, Deb et al. Stated that during our school year, academic stress manifests in every environment. It can be our home, school, and also in our neighborhood, and even our friendship. You may have a fight with your friends, you can be stressed by that too.
According to Gerald Greenberg, 2012, stress is a natural part of college life. It is the moment where they are accountable for their own decisions and no one babysits them. To keep the student motivated to do the task at hand, a little tension is actually pleasant. Too much tension, however, can leave a student exhausted mentally and physically. Far-ranging stress management makes it possible for understudies to understand what stress is, determine their degree of stress, and apply the resources and abilities to cope with the pressure to their own carries on. A recent study done by Reddy et al. 2018 shows that the current examination brought into light that scholastic pressure actually keeps on being an overwhelming issue influencing an understudy's emotional wellness and prosperity. Extreme insightful contrasts in the experience of pressure were additionally featured. The executives of the condition along these lines get central at each level to be unique, individual, social, and institutional.
Research methodology. So in this chapter, we will be discussing about the research design, sample and sampling technique, and the instrument used in this research. For the research design, the researchers use the descriptive qualitative research, since this design focuses on the details of what, when, where, and why of an event. It is also believed that problems can be solved and practices can be improved through observation, analysis, and description. This design can also help determine the set of common stress-related issues among the participants and help determine the best way to possibly cope up with stress. Sample and sampling technique. Convenience sampling technique is used in this research, in which the researchers were able to accumulate data and information from a conveniently available population from the grade 12 students. The researchers chose markers merely based on proximity and doesn't consider whether they represent the entire population or not. For the instrumentation of the research. The instrument used in this research to gather data and information is through a Google form. Due to the pandemic, researchers were not able to conduct face-to-face interview, hence they were forced to improvise in accumulating data in the best way possible. Inside the Google form is a set of 3 questions that focuses on the perceptions and how these perceptions affect the respondents' daily lives. The questions asked were, what are the things that causes you stress? When have you been under stress? What signs or symptoms do you exhibit? And lastly, when you have been under stress, what specifically do you do that help you cope up with stress? Okay. For the data analysis and interpretation, we will be discussing the overall response from the respondents from all the 3 questions. For question number 1, all the response narrows down to school. This school year has been very stressful, thinking that the pandemic has caused so much adjustment to everyone. To add more, the slow internet connection in our country has become a hurdle for us in terms of our learning. It is no doubt that with these events happening, it causes so much stress to the grade 12 students. For question number 2, all the respondents have exhibited physical and mental health. For question number 2, all the respondents have exhibited physical and mental symptoms. Mostly have developed anxiety and procrastination. When someone is under stress, they tend to have no will and strength to move around and do something. Anxiety can still be there even without stressors, although being under stress can worsen an individual's anxiety. Lastly, for question 3, it is no doubt that the best way to cope up to escape from reality is by pampering and giving ourselves time. The respondents said that doing something that made them happy indeed made them feel relief from all the stress and burden they have been carrying.
In conclusion, students exhibit stress when they are faced with a task may or may not be significant, while others are stressed with general problems that students faces. The factors that contribute to this problem is in the cognitive mind of students and the relationship of the environment that will pose an ample threat like how people are scared. In regards with students' stress symptoms, it still falls on the general school, although with a varying explanation but still the same. There are some unique entries in which participants show varying answers. Coping can be done in numerous ways with finding things that can calm you down to activities that relieves your stress. It shows that human coping mechanisms show when situations of stress are too dire for a person to have and will find means to relief or relaxation. For recommendation, in order to improve and to have a better research in regards to this issue, we recommend to the future researchers to interview the respondent personally or through calls to have a deeper conversation. What happens when there is a conversation is that the researcher can ask additional questions that is relevant to the topic being discussed. And the researchers would also like to recommend the future researchers that they should do a different aspect this type of study, like picking the teachers as the respondents instead of students. For the teachers also have knowledge how school has been stressful, especially today that we are all experiencing isolation due to the pandemic.